Edward, given that the sanctions are targeting companies that service the Russian military, how effective will these sanctions be in slowing down Russia's war effort?
Look, I think the Biden administration did a number of really important things today. You know, the 500 targets obviously is a headline, it's a big number, but I think the most important thing was really looking at the 24 companies based outside of Russia in places like China, Serbia, the UAE, Turkey, that have helped Russia evade sanctions and procure things like semiconductors for its war machine. The Biden administration has expanded sanctions now to cover these companies, these front companies that are importing chips from the United States, from Europe, and then reselling them onto Russia. So I think that that's a really important step, Jonathan. At the same time, I think it only has to be a first step. The Biden administration has come up with this new policy of secondary sanctions that the president put in an executive order in December. This is the first time that they're really going with a significant tranche of secondary sanctions, but we haven't seen sanctions against foreign banks, for instance, that are processing payments for Russia's war machine. And I think that kind of a step is going to be necessary to really cut the spigot of technology to the Russian military.
So you hinted at it, but are there even more sanctions coming down the pike? You just said a moment ago, this is the first step.
I do believe there are. I think the Biden administration is the highest commitment that they have on sanctions really are these sanctions that are focused on the Russian military, because those are the sanctions that really are having an impact in the here and now that actually could potentially help Ukraine get more momentum on the battlefield. I think the difficulty with those is that it does require what are called secondary sanctions. It's not about sanctioning Russian targets. We've already sanctioned pretty much the entire Russian military-industrial complex. It's about sanctioning companies in China, companies in Turkey or the UAE who are helping Russia get the equipment it needs for its military machine. I think the other thing, Jonathan, is beyond just technology. You know, money is what Putin needs for his war. And still, to this day, oil is by far the largest source of money that Putin has. And unfortunately, that's been the one area, I think, where the Biden administration has been a bit too cautious, I think, in terms of going after Russia's oil revenues, which are the lifeblood of Russia's economy.
Ambassador McFaul, I'd love to get your thoughts on this, but also do the sanctions reflect justice or accountability, given that they target people who the administration believes are responsible for Navalny's death?
Well, first of all, Jonathan, thank you for saying what you said about the ridiculous comparison between Mr. Trump and my former friend, Alexei Navalny. I can't tell you how angry I was when he made that comparison. I was with his wife today, his widow. I was with his daughter today. And I can tell you, this is just, you can see I don't have words to describe it. Mm-hmm. The idea that he has anything in common with Alexei Navalny is absurd. And the idea that our democracy and our rule of law system has anything to do with Putin's totalitarian dictatorship is completely absurd. So thank you for starting us with that. Second, I'm glad they sanctioned the three gentlemen that they did that were responsible for his death. I agree completely with Eddie. I call him Eddie. You can call him Edward. But he's exactly right about that. This was a big new step, secondary sanctions, right? Before, they were always sanctioning Russian companies and individuals. Then they gave themselves the authority to do it. And today was the first step in doing that. That's how you need to shut down the technology that's flowing in. And let's be clear, this is American technology that goes to other companies in third countries, sometimes many different steps through places like China, Hong Kong, Kazakhstan, Belarus, and then goes to build Russian missiles that then kills Ukrainians. Think about how absurd that is that we are participating in that. This is the first step, but it's only the first step. Next Friday, Jonathan, I want you to invite us back, and I hope there's another package where they're announcing more to do that. And then next Friday, I want you to invite us back that there should be another package, because there is way more that could be done if we leaned into this. So yes, applause for what they did tonight and encourage them to do more tomorrow.
Edward, these sanctions are important because they're targeting Russia's military-industrial complex. But is this as effective as giving Ukraine aid?
No, is the simple answer. Look, I've spent my career working on sanctions and economic statecraft. But I think the most important thing the United States could do to support Ukraine right now is to pass that aid package through Congress. And we know that the only reason that hasn't happened is because of the Republicans. So I think that this is something that needs to happen urgently. Sanctions are a really important piece of the strategy. But even myself, as somebody who, this is my work, I'll confess that aid to Ukraine and military support to Ukraine has to be the paramount objective right now.
Ambassador McFaul, you write about a possible new military aid to Ukraine bill in what you call a win-win-win for Speaker Johnson, Ukraine, and Navalny supporters. Can you expand on what that new military aid package would look like?
So, again, I was just with four colleagues of mine from Ukraine today. We are commemorating this horrible, tragic, barbaric invasion. They spoke here at Stanford, and every single one of them, one was an MP, one runs a drone company, one works for Zelensky, and one's the former Nobel Peace Prize winner. They all said, pleading with us here at Stanford, we need this ammunition. If we don't get this ammunition, more Ukrainians will die. If we don't get these interceptors, more civilians will die. It is a dire moment. And this $50 billion package that has been stalled for months now needs to be delivered. It's a gift to Putin to stall it. Now, thank you, Jonathan, for citing that piece. What my idea is, I wish Speaker Johnson would just do the right thing, right? I know that most of the Republicans that haven't voted on this want to do the right thing in the House of Representatives. They can just get out of their vacation, show up to work on Monday, and do the right thing. But he worries about being removed from as Speaker, just like Speaker McCarthy was. So I'm giving him a new idea to marry something called the Repo Act, which is we froze these assets, billions of dollars of Russian assets. And there's a legislation passed in committee from the House and Senate that says take these frozen assets and now give them to the Ukrainians. And I think you could put that together with the military assistance package, and then that gives Speaker Johnson cover. He can say, I took it to the Biden guys, right? And he said, I took it to those Europeans by transferring these assets. And I think this is a win-win for everybody.
I like that idea, Ambassador McFaul. So, gentlemen, let's listen to a little more from Donald Trump.
It's the people from within our country that are more dangerous than the people outside. We can handle China. We can handle Russia. We can handle all of them if you have a smart leader. But the inside people are very dangerous.
Ambassador McFaul, the last word here is yours.
Well, the danger comes from Mr. Trump, who's assaulting our democracy. On that, I agree with him. But we cannot stop China and Russia if we don't act in more unified ways in our national interests. And we need our Republican colleagues in Congress to do the right thing now. Let's deal with November later. But aid to Ukraine right now is not just important for our security in Europe. It's important for our credibility all over the world.